Good morning, beautiful people. It is Thursday, February 20th. It's a great day to talk about sports. There's a lot going on right now, okay? You're about to hear some math conversation here off the jump from me that is going to kind of be an eye-opening experience about how good the NFL is currently doing. New numbers are being released via Adam Schefter's Twitter almost at an hour rate with this new CBA being negotiated. We had to sit down and do the whole drawing board. I'm excited to see if this works out. Players don't love the 17-game thing. In the middle of negotiations, this CBA, they say, is coming down to the wire. They're thinking a new one's going to be signed within the next week. We'll talk about that. The Houston Astros have decided to turn heel, which is classic sports entertainment. Whenever everybody's coming after you, just embrace it and start being the bad guy. They're starting to do that with this entire thing. Rob Manfred should think about doing that as well. The only people that speak worse than Rob Manfred somehow were the people that were part of the Democratic debate last night. We got a great show for you, 1-833-622-3331. Tom Pelissaro will be joining us in 28 minutes. He's an NFL insider from what I've been told. Can't wait to talk to him about all the things happening. I mean, this is going to be a good day. Buckle up, though. Some math is coming here early. Evan Foxy, please play some Chase Rice.
It's the perfect occasion for a little vacation from the heart of the nation. Not your medication, 2 hours of magic. Let's give it a go. Ladies and gents, it's the Pat McAfee Show. It's the Pat McAfee Show.
Yes, it is Chase Rice. That man will be touring with Garth Brooks and I believe Rascal Flatts this next year.
Whoa. What?
Yeah, Chase Rice is going to be very expensive if we ever want another intro song from him in a very near future. Good for him. Welcome to the Pat McAfee Show this beautiful Thursday, February 20th. We can't thank you enough for joining us, whether it's listening or watching, wherever the hell you may be. We appreciate you. Get at Nick Morado on the ones and twos, at Tone Diggs, at Ty Schmidt. Jason McAfee's here. Happy birthday. And sitting next to him wearing a blue Cuban Zeet shirt, Mr. Cuban Zeet, at Evan Foxy and Connor Campbell. Boston Connor's doing a terrible job on the phones. There's a nickname of a guy named Mailman. We don't do nicknames.
Post Malone? Mailman? He said his name was the Mailman.
Yeah, but if this guy stinks, like he doesn't deserve a nickname. Like you get a nickname if you do good.
It could be Karl Malone. He said he was bringing the juice. He said it.
Yeah, all these
Did
people
you
say
say
that.
Post Malone?
Yeah, could be Post Malone as well. I mean, we're not 100% sure. Okay, so let's get into this. Adam Schefter tweeted last night a pretty alarming set of figures that kind of went over everybody's head whenever they're talking about revenue share. Okay, so whenever Adam Schefter tweeted this last night, he said more on a transformational CBA proposal now on the table per sources. This is what the owners who have been summoned to New York to vote on, and the NFLPA has been summoned to wherever they're at to vote on. It's like the anchor man. They grab the conch shell and they go, the NFL owners have to vote on this, and the NFLPA is doing this. So the transformational CBA proposal that's now on the table for them. As part of the new deal, players will go from a 47% revenue share under the current deal to 48% revenue share at 16 games. And then it'll go to 48.5% revenue share if they go to 17 games. And then Schefter tweets this little number at the end that everybody's talking about how the NFL players don't have 50%. Everybody's talking about how the NFL players have the lowest revenue share out of all the regular sports or all the major sports, which is all true. But this last sentence here from Schefter was the one that was just like, excuse me, especially as somebody that has been, in the middle of these types of negotiations for like the last 2 weeks, literally. Okay, so he says that when they jump from a 47% share, which is what the NFL players have had for the last 10 years, to a 48% share for next season, and then a 48.5% share whenever they go to 17 games inevitably in 2 years, which is what's going to happen, whether the NFLPA likes it or not. They're voting on it. This is what's going to happen just because it feels like that's the way the tide is turning. That is shifting, Schefter says. Say that 10 times fast. Schefter says that it's shifting $5 billion of revenue to players in that 1.5% slide. Okay, so from 47% revenue share, which is what the players have had for the last 10 years, to 48.5%, which is what they'll have in 2 years. That is a $5 billion shift. 1.5% of the NFL's revenue for the next 10 years is $5 billion. Okay, So if you do some math now and you divide it by 10 and you do that, each percentage yearly, 1% revenue that the NFL is making yearly, $320 million. Okay, that's 1% of the revenue. They're making $32 billion in revenue yearly. Okay, so whenever you start thinking about that, and that math checks out, by the way. We did this four times on a dry erase board. We carried the one. We did the whole thing because as soon as I saw that tweet last night, I had inhaled all the CBD-PM that I could potentially inhale because I'm trying to get off this Hawaiian jet lag. I inhaled all the vitamins that I could possibly have. I was in an interesting state of mind. I look at that, I'm like, 1.5% of revenue for the NFL is $5 billion. And then you start doing the math, you start adding it up, and I had this little thing in my notes section. I came in this morning, I'm like, excuse me, Ty, you were accepted to Harvard. You said no to them. So although you have the brain to get into Harvard, you just didn't have the wherewithal to do so because you wanted to play baseball at Iowa. Does this math add up? Then I asked Diggs, who used to be in a numbers world. He used to be a salesperson. Diggs gets out his Ticonderoga and starts writing down these things. I'm like, is this true? $320 million is 1% of the NFL's revenue yearly. That is a stat that you need to think about whenever you hear the players go, well, we're not agreeing to this because we want more money. Because that's what's happening in the NFL. What we just did right here is what's happening in the NFLPA meeting room. They're like, okay, boys, we can go from 47% to 48%. We're already up a percent, which by our math is $320 million being added into the players, which, by the way, there's like 1,500 players or something that has to get split up, and there's only 32 owners, so that's the whole thing. Then if we go up another 0.5%, obviously, that's another $160 million if we want to add it on there. But what that is actually saying is that $32 billion of revenue is coming into the NFL yearly, okay? That's from their TV deals, that's from the merch, that's from whatever they're absolutely doing. And the NFLPA players are like, well, wait a minute, they're with $32 billion, we're only getting 48%, we should get more than that. And the thought that has to be happening, though, is anytime these types of things happen where you think maybe the grass is greener or we can get a little bit more, and this can happen in a club with your friend, this can happen in a business negotiation, you never leave your for show money looking for mo money, or you end up with no money. So that's the conversations that's happening in the NFL and the NFLPA right now. And I think it's all coming together nicely here. The fact that they're already voting on things that have this importance before a lockout is even possible and a conversation is happening is good. But you got a lot of players that are very high up in the NFLPA that I think are seeing all these numbers and they're going, no, we want more than that. Richard Sherman is somebody that's doing that, who is also a friend of the show, but a very important person in this conversation because he's an NFLPA executive member. So whenever you start seeing these numbers add up and you don't see the players just immediately go, whenever the fans see like, there's $5 billion shifted to the players, it's like, I agree, that's a lot of money. But that's only 1.5% of what 32 owners are making that's only 1.5% of their revenue for the next. I mean, it's just whenever you start thinking about it, it's like, oh my God, the amount of money that's being negotiated. The fact that they can even think about coming to a deal is almost impressive to me. And the NFLPA is going to have to get to the point where they're like, okay, we had a little bit of a win here. We got an extra $320 million a year at least that could go up to what? $480 million a year if we want to gather it. It's just whether or not we want to agree to that, knowing that there's a lot more on the table that we could potentially get because the NFL is 30 billionaires. Right. Yep. Mark Davis is about to lose all his money to Tom Brady. Couldn't even pay Khalil Mack. Right. I mean, potentially, right. Connor. Right. And the Packers don't have an owner, but it's 30 billionaires that are splitting a company that's revenue, 1.5% of it for the next 10 years is $5 billion. I think the way you got to look at this is like, hey, hell of a business you guys are running over there. Hell of a racket you got going. And good for you getting to keep 51.5% of that revenue every single year. But the NFLPA too. I mean, it's a lot of money. I was grossly overpaid. I was grossly overpaid to do what I was doing. Now, granted, there's a lot of money that goes into it, and a lot of players are going to get grossly overpaid in eyes of a lot of people. You can't compare being a quarterback in the NFL to the heroes of our world, right? You can't compare them to military members. You can't compare them to cops. You can't compare it to teachers. You can't be like, well, you're just playing a kid's game. I agree completely. And if you were to look at that for everything, you're going to be very upset and alarmed about how much money Kenny Chesney makes just to sing a song with some auto-tune. Like, it's very hard to compare that, which is what ends up happening in these negotiations, and it's hard not to do. But, man, there is a lot of money out there this football league is making, and I bet you Vince McMahon, the XFL, is looking at it like, hey, we'll take 1.5 we'll take 1.5% of whatever the NFL is doing. That'd be good.
And things are and that was funny because Jamal Adams, who is a younger player, tweets out more regular season games and more playoff games. He's got more money for the league and players. Everyone wins. And all the older players are like, whoa, man, relax.
Whoa,
I think he deleted that tweet, by the way.
Jamal Adams did?
I believe.
He
I
did.
couldn't find it this morning.
Richard Sherman was like, hey, listen, we do not need your ass right now acting as if we have agreed to this deal. And I asked Richard Sherman to come on the show. I'm like, listen, Richard Sherman and I feel like have an actual respect for each other. I have a lot of respect for Richard Sherman, by the way. I might not agree with every single thing that he says or does, but I have a lot of respect for a kid from Compton that went to Stanford, that has made himself, that has bet on himself, the whole thing. And the fact that he is pretty high up in these negotiations is by the way, very impressive for a corner in the NFL to be a part of this and have this much leverage. But you got a lot of OGs in the NFL that are talking to the young guys like, hey, you don't even understand the business of this league yet. I don't know if Jamal Adams has gone through a negotiation. Has he?
I don't think so. He's on his rookie deal.
So I've always said this. Like
He's gonna get paid,
the young player, yeah, he's going to get paid, but he's also going to have to listen to negotiations about him being used goods. Like that's a conversation whenever you learn that, oh, this is not just a game. This is not just fun in the backyard with our friends. Like this is Pawn Stars. This is Shark Tank, and I am the item that they are talking about that could potentially be sitting on the shelf with nobody wanting it for the next year and a half. That's when you learn it's a business, when you have to negotiate, let alone if you're an OG that's been through like 3-4 negotiations, you had heard everything, and you know what's happening inside there. Allen Robinson II from the Chicago Bears says, young players, educate yourself on what's going on in the business of your sport. You don't just play ball. You're in a buoysness. And I couldn't agree with something more.
He made the mistake of all capitals, so you don't get the
autocorrect. Yeah, it's tough.
And things are only going to get better for the NFL because a lot of people are saying they want this 17-game deal so they go back to their TV partners and ask for more money. They make,
by the way, it's 2 more weeks of the regular season
and 2 more games on Wild Card Weekend.
Yeah, they wanted to add, right? So then they also want to add 7. They want to add a team on each side of the conferences for the playoffs, right? Playoff money for the NFL is just house money because they don't have to pay the players as much. Now, granted, some players will get an upgrade, but a lot of the big-time players that you're spending a lot of money in, they're making the same amount of money as the special teamers that are making each and every single week. And you're getting higher ratings. You're getting a bigger TV deal. You're getting all this stuff. So it's like there's so much money being negotiated and all this stuff and so much money happening. By the way, Roger Goodell, who a lot of people hate, because he's had to make decisions probably against your team or something like that. He's in a position where he gets paid mightily, but he has to make a lot of difficult decisions. I think if we put him next to Rob Manfred, I think we all need to respect Roger Goodell a little bit more, just because it could be Rob Manfred there.
Exactly.
But I think Goodell, one of his first things he said to the NFL is he wanted to make $32 billion a year for the NFL. Like, I think that was one of his main goals. That's why they started going to Europe. That's why these things started to grow. They're like, we want to grow the game. We want to do this. We want to do this. The bottom line is all that they really care about. And he came in and said, I think we can do this. Now, they're negotiating on the premise that that is what they're making.
Yes.
I mean, this is... For the NFL, you got to be like, congrats. But to the players, them trying to inch out every single 0.5%, because every 0.5% is what, $160 million a year? Yeah. I mean, that is something that they're just trying to inch out. This is going to come down to the 11th hour. This is going to come down to a negotiation about the nitty gritty. And that nitty gritty just so happens to be hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars.
Do you know how much the networks pay a year? One per year for NFL rights to.
Didn't Amazon pay something like $90 million or something for like Thursday Night Football? And it was just a second stream. Like it wasn't even like the real stream.
The NFL gets $1 billion a year from CBS, 1.1 from Fox, and $1 billion from NBC.
And what's ESPN play
for 1 year?
I wonder
it's not here for Monday night. It's probably $1 billion.
I think it was around $1 billion for Monday Night
because NBC is paying for Sunday Night Football for $950 million. They're making $4 billion a year just from TV partners.
Is that just regular season, or does that include playoffs?
I don't
as
know.
well?
Playoffs are probably on top of that.
Because that's what I was thinking. That's where players are actually going to end up kind of getting screwed over in this, right? Because the playoff, adding another playoff game, like they're going to renegotiate, and that's going to be a massive deal.
Oh, sorry. ESPN is paying $1.1 billion for Monday Night Football.
Jeez.
I respect.
It's a kid's game. It's a kid's game.
$65 million a game, $20 million per hour.
Hey, you should just be happy you get to play what we love playing in high school for a living. You should be happy you get that opportunity. I agree. I absolutely agree. But then that means the people that are running this team should be acting as if they're high school coaches. Then, if that's the case, if we're gonna go on the premise that the players should act like this is a kid's game, well, then let's go on the premise that the owners should act like it's a kid's game. That's why I hate whenever everybody starts attacking the players during this. The last CBA, I mean, let's be honest. When the lockout happened, okay, I was in the middle of the substance abuse program. I couldn't drink for like 12 months going into the lockout. Then when the lockout happened, I had no tests, so I was on like a 140-day binge. I had no clue what was going on in negotiations. I was too young to think anything. But now that I'm really like digesting it all, you got to remember in the players' locker rooms, like the year or two after the CBA, whenever, on those trips home, like 4-hour flight homes, or flights home, and there's no other really conversation that could happen, and maybe there's been some wine drank or some beer drank, and somebody who's in the NFLPA or wants to be in the NFLPA pops off about how we got screwed in the last CBA, and then that leads into a conversation that goes into all of those things. Like the NFLPA knows that after this last CBA, there was a lot of disgruntled players about things that were happening because a deal they thought got rushed to finish line. I don't think that's going to happen this time. I think it's very interesting. They're trying to get it done early, but boy, this is so much money. So much money.
2 questions.
Yeah, buddy.
So when you were doing the lockout, they stopped testing you.
Oh, yeah.
Did your time, like you had to be in there for 2 years or whatever?
27 months, yeah.
27 months. Did the time clock stop when the lockout? So you had to continue after. That's
suspended sentence, yeah.
But after, second question, do you like the idea of 7 teams from each conference making the playoffs?
Yeah, I don't mind it.
Yeah, I love it.
I don't mind it at all. Strictly as a fan, I don't mind it.
Steelers would have benefited greatly.
Yeah, I know that's. I got the text from you this morning from Warren Sharp, Sharp Football. By the way, I have no idea that guy's been on the show. He has good stuff. This guy. If newly proposed playoff system were in place for the last 10 years, we would have added 5 10-win teams, 9 9-win teams, 6 8-win teams. And I think the issue that everybody has with expanding the playoffs is like, well, if they don't deserve it, they shouldn't get in. Especially because this year with the NFC East, right, there was a chance that a team with a losing record was going to get into the playoffs. So with that fresh on people's minds, the thought of adding another team, everybody's like, well, if a division stinks or something like that, we don't need to add more terrible teams. Warren Sharp came out and was like, no, I mean, there's a lot of good teams that don't make the playoffs these days.
10-win teams not getting in, and them being able to get in now is a huge plus.
Yeah,
if you win 10 games, you should be in the playoffs.
Any football fan is going to say this is a huge plus.
Yeah.
3 games on Saturday, 3 games on Sunday, wildcard weekend. It's like whenever they play in London, you wake up, there's a game at 10. Like it's the best day ever. And that wildcard weekend this past year, I fully enjoyed it. It's the best. Weekend. But as a former player and as a person that was in that locker room, I have to remember that there is a lot of guys who are just trying to make as much money in as short period of time as possible. And their bodies are taking damage, which, by the way, they know going into football is going to happen. They understand that there's an inherent risk whenever you play football. But right now, every single 0.5% that these players are trying to negotiate for is potentially changing a life for a long time. And I think that's why negotiations can get a little bit uglier once in a while.
I respect and am disgusted by the owners at the same time for not going for the 50-50 split. Because, like you said, that's just another thing they can grab in negotiations with offering up another 0.5% if they wanted to.
But no way. If they give 50-50, then they're alluding to the fact that the players are worth 50% of the NFL success. The owners don't think that, right?
Right.
That's why whenever they had the lockout or they had anything like that, like the thought the owners have is we can plug and place anybody into these systems and we'll be able. And I think even after seeing the XFL success, they're like, look, now. Granted, I don't know if the XFL success is going to sustain or whatever, but they had like 4 million people watching the game the first week, 3.5 or something like that, 2.5. The NFL sees that, the owners see that, and they're like, listen, this is a plug-and-place operation. And I think they kind of lightened up on that thought because whenever they went after the uniform rules and the no dancing rules and people are getting fined if their socks run all the way up, they wanted everybody to look and act the exact same way so they can plug-and-place players, right? That's what they wanted to take personalities out of the game. They wanted to take out the individuality out of the game. They wanted it to be a completely team sport. So whenever this guy's out, we put a new guy in that's dressed the exact same, doesn't dance, doesn't do anything. It doesn't matter. Now, they've lightened up on that because of how bad they looked. But if you were to give a 50-50 split with the players as the owners, in their eyes, they're like, well, we don't think the players deserve an exact 50%. That 1.5% on top of them is just 100% like a power trip type.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the way it goes. And that's, I mean,
well, and that's been like kind of ingrained into the players too, because it's all like, you know, the NFL doesn't need you. It's like what like a lot of those guys say. It's like, hey, guess what? The game is going to go on without you, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, you're just a piece of gum, man. Mm-hmm. Hey, whenever the flavor runs out on your particular piece of gum, we'll just go and pick another one out, and that thing will taste probably better than you did. That's exactly their thought. That's their mindset, and that's why 51.5% is a very good deal compared to the 47 or 48.5% is a very good deal compared to the 47%. But boy, the money is alarming. We got to get to a break because we need to make money because we're trying to become the NFL. If you're listening to this show right now, I don't care where you are. If you're a male, I want you to take a second and look down. When was the last time you shaved your junk, Diggs?
A couple weeks.
Yeah, it's been a while. Don't lie. Let's take a second to thank our sponsor, Manscaped, for holding you accountable to get rid of the funk and to shave your junk. Guys, our confidence comes from our pride and joy, and when you trim the bushes, the tree stands taller.
It's true.
It's true.
Very true.
So if you guys want to look a little bit larger these days, go ahead and trim the peripheral garbage and make sure the tree is a redwood, not a shrub. That's what we need, and that's what Manscaped is doing for everybody. Manscaped is forever changing the grooming game with their Perfect Package 3.0. This is their brand new package that includes the best electric trimmer there is, the Lawnmower 3.0. This is a third-generation trimmer that features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to prevent manscaping accidents. Millions of testes are about to be nick-free thanks to Manscaped's advanced skin-safe technology. And, of course, let's not forget about the crop preserver and anti-chafing ball deodorant and moisturizer. You already put deodorant on your armpits. Why are you not putting deodorant on the smelliest part of your body? The Perfect Package 3.0 also includes the anti-chafing performance boxer briefs that keep your package cool and smelling fresh all day. This is the perfect package for your perfect package. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code America at manscaped.com. Do yourself a favor and always use the right tools for the job. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code America at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com and use code America. Your partner and your family jewels will thank you. Make that thing look bigger, okay? Smoke and mirrors. Manscaped. We're back on the other side. This is the Pat McAfee Show.
Happening. People are freeing themselves from their wireless contracts. It's a movement towards something simple. Get truly unlimited data on a 5G-ready network for just $45 a month, with no contract ever. Simple Mobile. Out with the old, in with the simple.
Hey, here's some shit we talked about before. What an absolute beast.
They should have given you the ball more at fullback.
Yeah, I think
was
so.
probably
I agree. I agree. Hey, listen, when that happened, I mean, some are saying greatest touchdown run in the history of the NFL. All I can end up telling you, 1 for 1, baby. I touched it, handed it to me, touchdown. You show me another percentage like that, then we can argue. Until then, it's a moot point. I'm the man.
Hey, those are Hall of Fame stats.
I'm just saying. You know, I'll take, you know, a gold jacket as a fullback.
Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show here on this beautiful Thursday, February 20th. Joining us now is an insider, a man that showcased the Mike McCarthy project, which probably got him the job with the Dallas Cowboys, by the way, went inside McCarthy's house to showcase how Mike McCarthy basically flipped his massive home in Green Bay into a football facility with a bunch of guys breaking down film and things like that. An insider in the NFL world. Ladies and gentlemen, Tom Pelissaro. There you go, Tom. There you go, Tom.
Thanks for having me, Pat. What's up, buddy?
Hey, Tom, that Mike McCarthy piece was awesome.
Thank you.
Appreciate
it. It was very cool to have that level of access and get to see what he was doing during his year away. I think we showed a little different side of Mike McCarthy than people who were accustomed to seeing.
Do you think you got him the job for the Cowboys, that piece?
I think Mike didn't necessarily need my help. I would just say I did hear from numerous other NFL coaches and executives saying, can we do the same thing for me next year?
I completely forgot about Mike McCarthy, to be honest, until I watched that. I'm like, yo, Yinzer is ready to get back in the game. Then he goes down to Dallas. He lies right to Jerry and Stephen Jones, talking about how he saw the plays, has the job. I think they're in a good spot. Excited to see what they do with Dak. Before we get to any player information, let's talk about the NFL and the CBA that's coming to fruition here. They said 1.5%. Adam Schefter tweeted last night that a 1.5% upgrade in the revenue share over the next 10 years is a $5 billion shift. 1.5% of the NFL's revenue share for the next 10 years is going to be $5 billion. You do the math, 1% then each year is $320 million. They're saying they're making $32 billion in revenue a year. How is that possible? And what are other conversation pieces that are going to have to happen for this NFL CBA, NFLPA, NFL CBA to come to fruition?
Well, the math is a little bit more complicated. So under the current collective bargaining agreement, and without putting everybody to sleep here, players are guaranteed 47% over the life of a 10-year deal, which means in any given year, they might only get 46% or 45% of revenue. It just has to come out to 47. So under the proposed deal, now it would be 48% minimum per year, which is a significant difference. That's under a 16-game schedule. So even if they never were to go hold that lever and go to 17 games, that's about a $2.5 to $3 billion shift. Then if they go to 17 games, the estimates that they've put together say that 17th game is worth another $2 to $3 billion. That's how you get 48.5 would be the minimum if they went to 17. It actually could be higher than that. It's a pretty substantial shift. On top of that, you've got increases in benefits. You've got increases in terms of the player performance pool, a variety of other things, changes to training camp that's still under discussion, but some of the ideas include having less hitting early in camp, more days off early in camp, less time in the facility, a cap of how many hours you have to be in the facility during training camp. Those are all positive things. The question is, though, now for the 32 player reps who are going to discuss this tomorrow in a conference call, is it enough? That 17th game is a pretty big change in working conditions. Did they get enough to be able to vote yes on this? I can tell you it's not unanimous right now. There are some player reps who would vote no. They need 11 out of the 32 to vote no or to say they'll vote no in order to block it. And we'll see exactly how that all sorts itself out tomorrow.
A lot of the NFLPA reps all the NFLPA reps are OGs, right, in the league. So this less time in the facility and less practice time, that doesn't affect the OGs. Who it affects is the rookies a lot, right? Because the rookies don't get a chance to get in there as much. Then they make little rules where there's like a rookie camp and rookie this and rookie that. So all those conversations, I feel like, they figure themselves out with the timing and all that stuff. The money is where everything's going to fall into place. And if you look at Richard Sherman's tweets, and I assume he's a pretty large part and a large voice in the NFLPA's discussion, he is very anti the move to make that is that a For the Brand mug right there?
No, it was an NFL mug.
Oh yeah, the NFL.
Come on, Tom.
Yeah, I gotta get one here, please.
No,
Anybody?
Tom, you're working for the other team right now. Who are the main people on the NFL side that's negotiating? So in my eyes, from what I heard, Jeff Saturday stepped in the last CBA, which, by the way, beautiful blue eyes. Great teammate. He looks good with the gray beard he has now. He's a high school coach. From what I was told last CBAs, he came in, he had talked like Kraft and Jerry Jones, basically, and they settled the CBA deal after lockout was a long time. Are those the two main names from the NFL side that are like, we're going to give you 48.5%. We want 2 extra weeks in this? Who is the main voice on the NFL side in this entire negotiation thing?
Well, one of the interesting things here is the negotiations, which go back almost a year. I mean, this all started last spring. There have been countless bargaining sessions and staff meetings. They've been far less acrimonious from what they were back in 2011. Like the sides, they've had a constant discussion. They've been able to make progress. They haven't, don't make that face. Acrimonious Google it. We're good. It has not been as negative of an environment as they have before.
Okay, got it.
They have not needed people to necessarily step in. There's not been that central guy from all the people that I've spoken to. There's not had to be, one person stepping forward or anybody. There's always back channel discussions. I mean, that happens in any of these negotiations. But, certainly Eric Winston's a big voice on the player side, along with DeMaurice Smith. You've got guys like Russell Okung, and you mentioned Richard Sherman. He's an interesting position because he's part of the executive committee, the 10 guys plus Eric Winston that are negotiating the deal. He also is a voting rep. So he's one of the guys who can vote up or down on the deal that the executive committee ultimately is going to recommend here. So it's an interesting discussion. I mean, this is not, door open and shut on this thing. This is a product of a lot of different discussions, and there's still no telling how it's going to go tomorrow. So the owners are meeting today in New York. They're going to be updated on the state of negotiations, what is currently on the table. Expectation there is, even if you don't have a vote today, they at least would be in position. They are thoroughly educated on what the current offer is. They could vote once the players do. Then tomorrow, that's where you have the 32 player reps who, presumably, if they think they've got the votes to pass it, will take a vote. And that's ball game. Yes, it has to go to the entire membership. But if 2/3 of the player reps vote to approve, you're not going to get over 50% of the entire, 1,700 guys to vote no.
This is so interesting because just a few weeks ago, DeMaurice Smith, I assume in a position of leverage. DeMaurice Smith, the NFLPA president, has been for like the last 10 years. I actually heard his first speech at my rookie symposium, and, interesting guy. But he's done well. I mean, obviously, jumping from 47% to 48.5% potentially is a massive increase in pay salary. This playoff thing sounds like both sides are all in on more games in the playoffs. It sounds like the NFLPA, the NFL are both very excited about another team being added to each side. Am I right with that?
That was one of the first things that the sides were in agreement on. You can go back and read the story that Ian Rappaport and I wrote in mid-August. They'd had like 5 bargaining sessions, and one of the things that was very clear was both sides were open to expanding the playoff field, going to 14 teams, in part because then that would make up the lost revenue for cutting the preseason to 3 games. I had a talk with Mark Murphy about that at the November meetings, and he said it's just not a good product. Why would we want to have a bad product out there like the preseason is now? So you shrink that down, you make up the revenue in terms of those extra couple of playoff games, and then that in turn means by going to the 17th game, the way that everybody involved looks at it is that becomes pure profit.
Tom, I'm going to show you something that I said in June of last year. Okay, June, I believe, 6th, 2019. This is what I said, probably after reading an article from you and Mr. Rappaport. I've always said this when it comes to the number of games thing for the NFL, which is always going to be a topic of discussion because there's so much money on the line, both TV-wise, stadium revenue. You're talking about everything. There is so much money on the line for adding games because you're adding a concert. You're adding a whole nother concert for the band to perform at. And it's not just a concert that's live in person in front of 70,000 people, sold out, guaranteed for sure. It's also being streamed to millions of people paying millions of dollars for this whole thing. I mean, it is a massive financial decision to add a game or lose a game. I've always said this, let's meet in the middle. Let's make it 17 games. Let's add a bye week. So it is officially 19 weeks. So it's 2 bye weeks, 17 games, get rid of a preseason game or 2 so that you have like 2 real preseason games. That third preseason game, treat it like it's the AAFL, treat it like it's the XFL. It's just tryout guys, bubble guys anyways. Give them that game, but make sure fans know that this is going to be basically scrimmage between players that aren't going to make this team or special teamers. Add a bye week, have 17 games, and let's just keep it moving going forward. Let's in proportion add to the salary of everybody, so you literally take no money out of anybody's pocket for another performance, pay them for the bye week as well, and just keep it moving. Then we add an extra game. It's not 18, which is what the NFL wants. It doesn't stay at 16, which is what the players want, but it's a nice win-win for everybody. Tom, did the NFL and the NFLPA play that clip, you think, during their conversations?
It's pretty smart, I got to say. There's a lot of logic that went into that conversation. That all has been discussed, too. Adding the second bye has definitely been discussed. The thing is that the 17 games is not going to happen immediately. That's going to be a lever that the owners can pull. They haven't negotiated the new TV deals yet. So in those TV deal conversations, that's where they're going to figure out, okay, When do we want this? When's the most logical time? Is it going to be, as my colleague Mike Silver reported, maybe 2022? That gives you 2 years to figure out the logistics of this. If you went to the second bye, you could potentially have the Super Bowl on President's Day weekend, eat up another chunk of the calendar before everybody gets excited about the Combine.
That guy's the worst. This is a question.
Tom, speaking of the Combine, is next week like your Super Bowl? How much news is going to break next week at the Super Bowl? Like, are we going to find out about Tom and Phil and where everyone's going next week?
This is where the hype machine definitely picks up substantially because you have all the agents, all the teams in one place. The one thing to understand, this has happened before. It happened like 5 years ago. There's a really long break between the Combine and free agency this year. Free agency doesn't start till March 18th. That's the latest I can ever remember. So you've got like 2.5 weeks or so before free agency after the Combine. So what happened last time was teams were really reluctant to show their hands to agents. Why? Because if you tell an agent what you're going to do, you now he's got 2.5 weeks to shop that around to other teams and say, hey, can you beat it? Oh, yeah. So this could be a little bit slower of a process in terms of what actually comes out in Indianapolis. But this is also unique in that this quarterback market has more guys. I mean, you're talking about some of the greatest players who have ever played the game, plus some young guys coming off their rookie contracts. Plus, you got a really good draft class. This is going to be the hardest it's ever been to peg what happens at the quarterback position. The answers are it's going to be a slow trickle here over the next several weeks. I would not expect to leave Indianapolis knowing where all the bodies are going to be buried.
Marquee names right now moving. I mean, marquee. Tom Brady, anytime Tom Brady's doing anything, it is noteworthy. If he's selling that terrible chocolate on Facebook, it's noteworthy. If he's building another TB12 therapy treatment center, it's noteworthy. Now the fact that he's playing the game how he's playing it, I absolutely love personally, because if the greatest of all time can do it, he should do it. And I like that he's in social media, he's engaging, he's kind of trolling people. There's no chance that he does all this and then leaves. Is there? There's no chance that the social media, the Instagramming, the Twittering, the going to a fight by yourself basically to go talk to Mark Davis, all of these things. There's no way he leaves. He's just doing this strictly for leverage against the New England Patriots. Am I accurate in saying that, or is there a chance he actually leaves, you think?
I never say never on anything in the NFL, Pat. And what I would say is Tom Brady, this is the first time in his 20-year career that he's been a free agent. So what's been communicated to me for the past month and change here has been that he really wants to, I know he said it publicly to Jim Gray, like he wants to go in with an open mind. That's really it. He wants to explore. He wants to know, what are my options? Those start to crystallize now as we get through the Combine, as more teams through one way or another make their intentions known. He just wants to know exactly what's out there. Having said that, you have to look at it from Tom Brady's perspective. He doesn't need money at this point. I mean, we all would love more money, but money's not like the driving force for Tom Brady. He wants to try to win more championships. He wants to keep proving people wrong. He's 42 years old, going to be 43, wants to show that he can still play at a high level. Where is he going to have a better chance to win a Super Bowl than New England? Yes, they have personnel challenges. They certainly have challenges in terms of the skill positions, but you look at Bill Belichick, maybe the greatest defensive mind of all time, a really good offensive mind in Josh McDaniels, a system that Brady has played in for 20 years that you would then have to try to install. And, yes, I mean, Peyton Manning went to Denver. He was able to install his system. You can figure these things out. But at this stage, you don't want a transition year. How quickly can you ramp up? How quickly can you have that level of success if you go someplace else? Those are all the things that he has to weigh. If he gets offered an extra $1 million by the Chargers than what the Patriots are offering, I don't think that's the type of thing that's going to sway Tom Brady.
Isn't it so interesting to think, though, that everybody who was going ring chasing, Super Bowl ring chasing at the end of their career will go to New England, right? They're like, all right, going to New England to play with Tom. Now Tom is ring chasing himself. And he's like, is this the right place for me to do it at? You look around, they only got like $50 million in cap space. They only got like $50 million. The Raiders have already reported that they're potentially going to give him $60 million. The Patriots said we'll give you $30 million. You got to pay him. You also have to pay
McCourty, Tooney.
There's a lot of people up there. I don't know how the Patriots have enough money to give him the weapons that he's looking for to win. If they have another year like they had last year, I would assume that this entire free agency troll bait thing that he's doing is all for naught. And that's probably what everything's looming on, is whether or not he thinks that team can win a championship.
Well, and why wouldn't you go and have conversations with coaches or GMs and let your agent listen? I mean, go out and find out what people's plan is and figure out if there's any possibility that it's better than the one that you have in New England. Again, this is the first time he's ever been through it. So he wants to go in, listen, understand what his options are. I mean, Tom Brady doesn't go up to the line of scrimmage and go, I'm definitely throwing it to that guy before he reads the defense. He wants to see what's out there and figure it out. That's the way his brain works, and so he's going to take the same approach to free agency.
It's so funny, like 20 years of being under one place. You have all these thoughts of what you would do if you had any freedom, and he's just doing them all here. He's like, I'd definitely go talk to an owner at a UFC fight. All right, we'll do that. I would leave little droppings of tweets and pictures in different places. Yeah, we'll spread a rumor with an Uber driver in Nashville that my family's looking at schools there. I mean, it's just like, it's a never-ending cycle. I can't wait to see how it ends. And I know when it does, we'll look for NFL.com and NFL Network reporter Tom Pelissaro to break it. We appreciate the hell out of you, Tom. Thank you, buddy.
You got it, Pat.
See you later, man. Great conversation there with you.
Yeah. Love to hear it. Love to hear it.
We gotta get to a break. If he leaves, this is going to be a very, very, very aggressive move from the massholes whenever this entire thing happens.
There'll be some fools burning jerseys, too.
They already are.
Guarantee that.
Well,
You already are.
I mean,
That was from New York. That was not a Pats fan.
Oh, you looked into this?
Yeah, that was a fake fan. Yeah, that was all for
Well,
show.
every fake fan is the ones that burn the damn jerseys.
I think at this point they'd have reason to do it. This would be
Yes.
the least amicable split of
all time.
He's toying with them.
Is this worse than the LeBron James decision?
Without question.
The commercial? You forgot about the commercial, too.
Oh, yeah, I'm not going anywhere.
I'm not going anywhere is what he said. He can't do this. He can't.
When was the last time you were driving through a storm and thought, you know what? I love not being able to see a damn thing when I drive.
Never.
Tom Brady didn't do that.
No.
Uh-uh.
Not in New England, not in L.A., not in Las Vegas, not in Miami, not in Indianapolis, not in Chicago, not in Nashville. Zito says no to Chicago. Nope, they're done. That's exactly where the Bears are going. No offense.
Downhill's always sometimes better.
Now,
It's faster.
Bears can't run downhill.
Now driving in bad weather doesn't have to be a headache thanks to the new Michelin Endurance XT silicone wiper blades. These blades last through everything to prove it. Michelin just put their new Endurance XT silicone wiper blades to the ultimate test on a world record-breaking 16,000-mile drive from Alaska to Argentina. Had no idea it was possible. Maybe we should think about sending Zito on this trip, just like our guy Rainier Zeitlo did when he got behind the wheel to test just how durable these blades are. He put the Michelin Endurance XT silicone wiper blades through ice, snow, rain, thunder, and wind, and the blades took all of it. These blades are crafted for extreme weather performance with an advanced quad tech 4-layer coated silicone that repels water, snow, and ice and lasts 2 times longer than other blades. The Michelin Endurance XT silicone wiper blades are real-world proven for extreme weather performance. Upgrade to the Michelin Endurance XT silicone wiper blades today only at Walmart. Get some phones on the other side and wrap up hour 1. Big NFL conversation. We'll talk about baseball in hour 2. We'll talk about Emmitt Smith saying that Dak should take less money when Emmitt Smith himself held out at one point. Hello, hypocrisy. Goodbye to this show. Hello to commercials. This is the Pat McAfee Show.
At Simple Mobile, you get the no contract advantage. Unlimited talk, text, and data now for $30 a month. Now on a 5G ready network with no activation fees ever. No confusion, no complexity, no frustration, and no contract. Ever, ever, ever. Now get unlimited talk, text, and data for $30 a month. And now 5G ready. It's our best deal ever. Buy yours now at nationwide retailers or at Simple Mobile dealers. Learn more at simplemobile.com. Simple Mobile. Out with the old, in with the simple.
Here's something we talked about that's pissing everybody off. There's a very, very simple solution to fix the MLB.
What is
very
it?
simple. A, don't punish the guys who are taking steroids for an entire season. A guy on the Astros just got pinched again. He's out 162 games. They've basically already said, hey, this cheating stuff, much worse than steroids. So why is there no punishment for this? And then guys who – because steroids doesn't guarantee that you're going to go out and hit 80 home runs. I mean, if it's a competitive advantage, give that competitive advantage to everyone. Let everyone do it if they want to. 2, let people rip videos online.
That is why I hate him. I think because I am an internet human.
Yeah, the MLB is like the Gestapo when it comes to trying to put anything about your league out there.
The good news for them, though, is there's really nothing we'd want to put out there.
Exactly. I mean, sometimes they'll be like big bombs, cool fights, that kind of stuff.
There was one time there was a bird flying around the stadium. He wrecked into the thing. That was funny.
Yeah.
And then they have the Falcon during the national anthem. Normally,
lands on the person's arm.
Yeah, that type of stuff.
Third thing, let the pitchers nail these guys from the Astros.
Absolutely. This is baseball, right? This is like the intricacies of baseball. Like, hey, you do our guy wrong, we're going to do you wrong.
Exactly. Especially Bregman said on a podcast that one of his favorite parts about baseball is that when guys do something wrong, that they get hit. Like, it's an unwritten rule. So let pitchers nail these guys, hit them in the, obviously not try to hurt them or anything like that, but these guys deserve they deserve their comeuppance. And then lastly, cut 40 to 45 games off the season so that we're not starting when snow's on the ground in March and it's cold as hell in October. You're playing in the summer months. You're done by the time the NFL rolls back around, and maybe more people will watch baseball.
Here, Ty Schmidt. Ty, you'd be a better commissioner than that idiot I've seen on the internet the last couple of days. By the way, haven't seen him on TV, only seen him on the internet, which is weird because the MLB hates him.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. We got about 3 minutes. Let's get to the phones. This guy's name is Blake the Mailman. Blake, what's going on, pal? Blake, how's it? Blake, how's it going? I like your energy already. What's going on, pal?
Pat, first off, what's with the shot at the name, man? I'm the mailman.
Well, I have a mailman in my house that I like a lot. He's the mailman. I have one back in my hometown. He's the mailman. Blake, I don't think you just get to decide if you're the best mailman out there or not. Carl Malone, mailman. He's a good mailman. Blake, I don't know anything about you.
I'm a legit mailman, Pat. I work for the USPS Postal Service, baby.
Well, my mailman's Rick.
My mailman's name is Jim. He's a very good guy. He also works for the USPS. He'll even leave some stuff on the other side of the. He'll climb the gate for me. Jim the mailman has done a lot more for me than Blake the mailman has thus far, but I'm willing to change that, Blake, if you have one or two above average phone calls, which we haven't had a lot of on this particular show.
Well, let me tell you something about the Astros, Pat. And Ty, you get ready because I'm going to need you a little bit.
All right.
Robert Manfred, Bob Man, whatever the heck his name is a buffoon.
Mm-hmm.
how are we going to not punish these guys, but steroids get 50 games? We need to set a standard for a suspension. If there is 7 or 8 teams actually doing this, then you're basically telling them we'll keep doing it. There's no punishment. And, people are saying, well, we took first-round picks and fined them $5 million. People don't understand that the $5 million is the max amount they can penalize them. They can't go no higher than that. That is the max they can go. And the first-round picks isn't like football. Baseball first-round picks, you can get picked first overall and might never see the game. You might stay in single A your whole career. You never know what you're going to do. And then you got all these players coming out and bashing them, and Correa comes out and doesn't even help his cause. This guy is just a stooge, honestly. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's hurting his own team. And I honestly just don't know what's going on. And people are saying, well, Astros aren't the only team doing it. That is the most sorriest excuse for a major league team that I've ever heard. What are we, in second grade? Well, I was the only one that got caught. They were doing it too. Grow
Hey, mailman I know does not talk that much, okay?
That wasn't bad. I mean, it wasn't bad. He just repeated everything we said the last 2 days, which I respect and appreciate the fact that he listens, obviously. A little bit of input there. The thought of them taking a first-round pick and a first-round pick not really mattering in the baseball draft is a good one, though. So I appreciate Blake from Texas. Jim the mailman, though, would have been a little bit quicker, more concise, and a little bit more electric, my guy.
He's right in some parts. And also, like, getting a first-round pick is also a very big deal because then you hold that guy's rights for a long time before he can make a lot of money. So he is right, though. A lot of those guys get hurt and they never make it.
Hey, we like Blake. Yeah. We like Blake, the guy that works for the USPS. But he's not calling himself the mailman.
No,
there's no way that's happening. I have a mailman. Mail lady's good, too, by the way, Blake. This show stinks. Doesn't it?
No. I thought it was a great first hour.
We did have a good first hour. We did
math. Yeah.
I love math.
We educate people.
It gives me anxiety.
Speaking of math, we got like 8 seconds until the break. Should we even say anything?
No.
This will drive the syndicates crazy if we just talk right through the break and it just doesn't even...
One by one, it's happening. People are freeing themselves from the hassle and frustration of their wireless contracts. It's a movement towards something simple. Simple Mobile. Truly unlimited, high-speed talk, text, and data on a 5G-ready network. And no contract. Ever. Get truly unlimited data on a 5G-ready network for just $45 a month. Simple Mobile. Out with the old, in with the simple.
There are a lot of idiots that think the Detroit Lions should get rid of Matthew Stafford and draft Tua at number 3, and I completely disagree. Here's why.
So if Tua's the quarterback of the future in Detroit, would that make you happy, Evan Fox?
No, absolutely not. I've said this
Why?
before. Because you got a guy from Hawaii that went to Alabama. He's not going to fit in Detroit. And also, he played.
Whoa.
Pat,
Not going to
Pat,
fit in. Whoa.
He's not.
He's not. You cannot say.
You
got a problem with us?
He already came out and said he doesn't want to be in Detroit. Also,
family sources.
Yeah, it's his family. It's
his
sources.
family's toxic. You know what? You remember when they won?
Whoa.
Do you guys correct me if I'm wrong? When they won that national championship with Tua, and then in the offseason they decided, is it going to be Jalen Hurt or is it going to be Tua? When they said, if it's Jalen Hurt, I'm transferring.
Just a couple quick things for our YouTube listeners while we're not on the radio. It's Jalen Hurts is the guy's name. And also, have you ever seen a human with skinnier legs than this? This is a dude. This is a man. This is a guy who's questioning, okay? He's questioning another man's grit. He's questioning whether or not a human can make it in Detroit. He's saying he's called a family toxic with those legs. Those legs right there. That looks like a man that has never walked anywhere in his entire life. I've never seen anything like that. Foxy, that is the most insane picture of a human I have ever seen in my entire life. I've never seen legs like that. Miley Cyrus, whenever she was going through that wild stage where she looked like a praying mantis backwards, her legs were bigger than that. Foxy, tough look for you here. Tough look. But thanks for your Detroit Lions inside information, man. We appreciate it. We'll be back in a few minutes on this show.
It's the perfect occasion for mental vacation from the heart of the nation. Not your medication, 2 hours of magic. Let's give it a go. Ladies and gents, it's the Pat McAfee Show. It's the Pat McAfee Show.
You're damn right it is Chase Rice, who's about to make $100 million in the next year. He's touring with Garth Brooks and Rascal Flatts, and he was on The Bachelor, and the album Part 2 comes out in a couple weeks after the album Part 1 just came out a couple weeks ago. Check him out. He's handsome. He's good at his job. This is the Pat McAfee Show. We are not. Joining me at Nick Moraldo, at Tone Diggs, Ty Schmidt, Jason McAfee, and Cuban Zeet is here on this beautiful Thursday, February 20th, at Evan Foxy with the smallest legs I've ever seen in my entire life. And, selling him bug, I appreciate that. Good idea. And a man who handles the phones at Boston Connor. Connor Campbell. We had Tom Pelissaro join us in the first hour. He works for the NFL Network and NFL.com, breaking down the new CBA, which has some alarming numbers in them. And by alarming, I mean just grotesque, massive, insane amounts of cash being negotiated currently between the NFLPA and the NFL. If you remember back 10 years ago, there was an entire lockout during these negotiations. The NFL and its owners told the players, you're not allowed in our facilities. You're not allowed access to our doctors. You're not allowed access to our trainers. You're not even allowed to talk to our marketing department. You aren't allowed to do anything associated with us until we negotiate a deal. That deal, a lot of players thought they got screwed in. So this particular CBA has been something that players have been ramping up for the last 5 years of this decade. This is something that DeMaurice Smith and the NFLPA have decided that they have to be on the right side of, because the last time they think a deal pretty much got rushed done because a lot of players are running out of money with this lockout happening, and they move it forward. Last night, Adam Schefter tweeted something that was eye-opening to every human that is an NFL fan. More on the transformational CBA proposal now on the table. Per sources, as part of the new deal, by the way, per my sources, as part of the new deal, players go from 47% share under the current deal, which was the last 10 years. The players have earned 47% of the revenue that the NFL has made, right? That 47% just had to average out for the 10 years, by the way. So some years they could be at 45%. Some years they could have been at 49%. It just had to average over the 10 years a 47% share of the revenue with the NFL. The current deal would move it to 48% for the 16 games. And then if they go to 17 games, which is likely and possible 2 years from now, it bumps up to 48.5% revenue share for the NFL and the NFLPA. But the alarming stat to me was saying that jumping from 47% to 48.5%, which is only 1.5% if quick math checks out.
It does.
They say that that is a shift of $5 billion for the NFL. So if you do some quick math, that $5 billion is obviously worth 1.5% of the NFL's revenue for the next 10 years. So 1% per year then would add up to like $320 million. So 1% of the revenue that the NFL is making yearly is $320 million. You do some more quick math, you times that by 100 for 100%, the NFL is making $32 billion a year. What a hilarious league. Can't wait to see how this negotiation screws over the players somehow. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. And the NFLPA is on a conference call either today or tomorrow to discuss the 17-game season, an extra game, an extra team in the playoffs each day of the wild card weekend, jumping up a percentage and a half if another thing happens. And the NFL owners have been summoned via a conch call like in the Anchorman to New York to discuss this entire thing. Just know that when 1% of your revenue yearly is $320 million, you're in what we like to call a position of greatness. And that's where the NFL is right now. And the Richard Shermans of the NFL, the NFLPA Executive Committee, the OGs of the NFL very much understand that this is not a kid's game. This is not just a little bit more money. There is billions and billions of dollars on the line. So this is not going to be an easy vote. It's not going to be an easy negotiation, and never ever will be. But the NFLPA also has to know that you never leave your for show money looking for mo money, because you might end up with no money. What a wild time to be in the NFL and the NFLPA. Excited to see how it works out. I have no idea who Schefter's talking to. I think he's probably got sources on both sides. He'll know before anybody does if the CBA will come to fruition. Richard Sherman tweeted me last night saying he will come on the show at some point to discuss this. The time is tough right now because he's literally in the middle of $1 billion negotiation, which I can understand and I appreciate. The players, obviously, the way the players view this is, yes, it's more money. It's 1.5% more, which is $480 million a year more to the players from the NFL. Like, that is an awesome thing. But what Richard Sherman knows and the OGs of the NFL know is when you get to that week 16 game or your 16th game, which is in week 17 of an NFL season, a lot of guys are stumbling to the finish line. You got a lot of guys taking a lot of pain pills just to get out of bed on Monday, Tuesday. Body doesn't really feel much better until Thursday. Then they got a game on Sunday in Europe. They got a game in Canada. They got a game in Mexico. They got a game on Monday. They got a game on Thursday. So the NFLPA Executive Committee, who's made up of all the OGs of the NFL, and the NFLPA reps that are voting on this have been in the NFL normally for 5, 10, 15, even 20 years. Been Terry's on the air. They're voting on their experience. They're voting on the understanding that 16 games is already hard enough for a lot of players that you don't hear about. The offensive linemen that you never hear speak really. The defensive linemen that you never hear speak really. The guys that really go hand-to-hand combat every single day and can barely make it through a 16-game season, adding another game onto that, then potential playoffs being expanded and everything like that. It's a tough sell for a lot of people, but boy, the NFL is rolling in cash. They look like that damn duck hopping out of that tube into the gold thing. I don't know what it is, but there's a lot of money being negotiated, and I have no clue how it's going to play out.
Remember like 2-3 years ago, whenever we started this, like the war on football's dead. LOL.
Ratings were down too. Yeah. Ratings were down though, for real.
Yeah, they were.
And they had a real PR problem. CT and Will Smith hit the scene, right? So now, is this a sport that you would want your kids to play? That was a big conversation. You had ex-players saying, I won't let my kid play football. So, like, there is a future of football in doubt question. Then, obviously, the Kaepernick national anthem thing divided not only a country but a fan base, turned people away from the NFL. Ratings started to drop. The future of football was in jeopardy. And here we are, 2 years later, maybe a year and a half later, and their revenue is expected to be $32 billion a year. That is a hilarious. You know what? What an underdog story. The NFL is like Rudy. Just a couple years from being written off the script, they're back to $32 billion of revenue a year. I'm happy for those NFL owners that really were given no shot a year and a half ago.
And especially considering all the stuff with like the refs and like how bad that's been. Like the NFL, the product's still seemingly as good as it's ever been because all these networks are still groveling to get these new packages where they're going to get the games.
Should I do a full vitamin thought right now?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Connor from the back. Connor, by the way, you wanted to call that guy the mailman in the first hour who called Blake the mailman?
Yes.
It's not mailman anymore, okay? It's letter carrier.
Yeah.
Maybe you should be a little bit more inclusive and politically correct so I don't say offensive things into microphones because I just don't know any better. Now, I don't know if I should blame you or Blake, the letter carrier, for that, but I got a lot of tweets from a lot of letter carriers saying, hey, it's not mailman, it's not mail lady, it is letter carrier. They don't move packages. Don't even think about it. They just move letters.
That's on me. I mean, I should have known from the get-go that mailman wasn't inclusive enough. But going forward, letter carriers will be very much respected at this institution.
Preferred nomenclature.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. It's 2020, Connor.
Anytime.
Tom Brady's probably not going to be a Patriot.
Whoa!
You didn't deserve that. All right, let's do a little vitamin thought about why these networks need these live sporting events. Okay? Content is everywhere. This show's on YouTube right now. YouTube made $15 billion last year just in ads alone. Okay? That's what their revenue was last year, was $15 billion. Okay? We are a company that is currently being negotiated at a 9-figure valuation. Okay? We are on social media. We are on the internet. Westwood One puts us on the radio. Very, very nice of them. You got content coming out at such a rapid rate, right? The only thing that really separates the ESPNs of the world, the CBSs of the world, the Foxes of the world, are the ability to have the big bank and have the streaming rights to live games. That's the only thing that's different. The NFL knows that too. The NFL knows that they could take every single game to YouTube and Google could pay them a crap ton of money. So they just leverage all these people against each other, and the big networks need these things more than anybody else does. I mean, we've made a 9-figure valuation business with basically an iPhone. Okay?
Yeah.
That's basically what we've done. Now this system has gotten updated because our friends at DAZN came in and helped us become an international broadcast, and that's very nice. But we can put an iPhone up there, and still be able to do what we're doing right now. The NFL knows that the networks need these things, and the NFL knows that the television rights that they're about to renegotiate with an extra game, with more playoff games, are about to be so massive, and the networks have no other option but to sign it. They have no other option.
Look at NBC. The 10 highest-rated shows last year among men and women, all NFL games. Like, no one is watching the original content, the shows that they're putting on.
Because the internet is creating better content than they are.
Exactly.
Right?
And you can cut the cable cord. You don't have to pay as much to get that stuff free online, but people will always come back for the live sports.
Also, their original content, no one's watching them live or on NBC because you just watch it on the internet the next day. Like the best parts of that, you don't have to sit through
commercials.
The crap.
Yeah.
That money's only going to grow. $32 billion a year. That's only going to go up probably. That's like I assume if the NFL is doing this right, that's a conservative response, right? Because they're trying to. Anytime you're negotiating, you're trying to undersell something, right? Right. You're trying to get more and undersell something. The value of something is not this important. It's actually this important. So let's assume that $32 billion is the least that they think they're going to make each year for the next 10 years. $32 billion a year revenue.
Ridiculous.
That's all you can pay Roger Goodell, $40 million a year, and it doesn't matter. Oh, that guy that everybody's going to hate, but nobody even knows that the owners are saying everything for that guy to say. Yeah, I'll have $40 million. Do you want me to pay that or which owner? Are we all going to pay that? Oh, so it's like, what's that? $1.5 million for each of us? Yeah. Let me pull that out of my ass and pay this guy $40 million. It's just like they have so much money they can do whatever they want forever. They rent out the entire city for the combine. Indianapolis is rented out. An entire city. You know, in Schitt's Creek, okay, that's, by the way, not an FCC violation.
TV show.
That's a TV show, Schitt's Creek. They just bought that entire city. Whenever that's what the NFL does whenever they come here for Indianapolis for the combine. They could do that to every city every single weekend if they wanted to. $32 billion of revenue is just insanity. Absolute insanity.
Do it at the Super Bowl every year, too.
Oh, just take it.
Look at Miami.
Oh. By the way, a lot of traffic. A lot of traffic down there.
A lot of traffic.
By the way, Cuban Zeke
Talk to me.
thrived in Miami.
Oh, yeah.
This dude was translating people for me. Now, he couldn't say a single thing back. Couldn't say a single thing back to the people. But he told me there was a homeless man that was looking for water and money from me. And he told me that it was his second day here from Cuba or whatever. And I was like, oh, I feel bad for the guy. I gave him money. I had Zito go get him a water, the whole thing. The driver of us didn't speak a single lick of English, starts speaking in Spanish to Zito. Zito turns around at me and goes, he just told me that there's no way that guy's from Cuba. And I was like, well, did we just get hustled? And so I go, Zito, ask him if we just got hustled. And Zito goes, did we just get hustled in English? And I'm like, Zito, speak Spanish to the guy. The guy had no idea what he spoke. But it's, I like Cuban Zeke. That was where you were born down in Miami, but you're 100% right. The NFL took over that. $32 billion a year for the next 10 years. Do the quick math.
$40 million would be an eighth of 1% for Roger Goodell.
Let's go to Phil in Chattanooga.
Coming Raj like that.
Phil, I think he deserves more. If I'm Roger Goodell, by the way, I am not happy with what's going on with only making $40 million, especially because Roger Goodell came into the owners and said, I think we can make $32 billion. I think that was his actual number that he said. Now, I don't know if this is inside information that I'm spilling out into the public or if this is stated information. My brain normally remembers things that it's told that are alarming like that. I think Goodell, and the reason why he became the commissioner is because he said, we should make $32 billion a year. Now they're at that. And good for Roger Goodell. If I'm him, I'm saying I want more money, especially after watching Robert Manfred speak. I'd be like, yo, you guys owe me $100 million a year. Have you seen what it could be? This guy can't even make eye contact with humans when he speaks. How is Robert Manfred a commissioner? This is a sport I don't care about. Baseball is a sport I don't care about. I don't have a horse in the race. Tucker Barnhart's the only guy I hope succeeds because I'm friends with him. He's a Gold Glove catcher for the Reds. The Reds have stunk terribly. They're worse than the Pirates somehow, so it's hard to find any interest. I hope he does well. But how does that guy get the commissioner job when he cannot speak in public? And then you start to think, well, that guy should be able to speak. You're like, well, who are positions that should speak? Commissioners of sports should be able to speak, right? Politicians should be able to speak. Mm-hmm. None of them can speak. Nobody can speak anymore. It's like, what the hell is wrong? They say the millennials are no longer a communicative company. These old whites can't speak either. Rob Manfred is the picture of that.
He was a lawyer for like 20 years. Did this guy ever win a case in a courtroom? Like,
there's no way.
Unbelievable.
He's bad. Let's go to Phil in Chattanooga. Chattanooga, Tennessee. What's going on, Phil?
Yeah, what's going on, man? Keeping it on the topic of the NFL, everybody thinks I'm an idiot for this, but just hear me out.
Oh, can't wait.
Old Phil down here with a freezing cold take. The Titans should not pay Derrick Henry. They should let him walk and let the flash in the pan Tannehill walk as well. It'll hurt the team, and Derrick Henry's just going to go downhill like all the other running backs.
He said that they should not pay Derrick Henry or Ryan Tannehill because Ryan Tannehill's a flash in the pan, and Derrick Henry, you just don't pay running back.
Phil, you guys at the Tennessee Titans, for how long have been this close to being good. This close to being good for so long. Every time we would come play, I mean, we won like 11 out of 12 against you guys, but every single time that we would come play the Titans, we were like, this is a very good team. It was always a very close game. Not always, but there was a lot of close games. It always felt like the Titans were this close to making it. You bench Marcus Mariota, who's been there. You bring in Tannehill. You guys end up in the AFC Championship game. And now you're like, don't need them. Let's go back to our same old crap that we were for a long time. 28 free agents.
He had 400 carries this year. He's gonna fall apart.
Well, I can understand that, but you don't think he has at least another 2 years in him, another year in him? I think he just deadlifted like 7,000 pounds yesterday or something like that. It seemed as if he potentially deadlifted 7,000 pounds just yesterday. You think get rid of Tannehill, get rid of Derrick Henry? Who are you going to pay? Are you going to give an extension to Mariota? Like, what are you thinking is the way to work this thing for the Tennessee Titans, Phil?
I think you got to just take your lumps this year and then get Trevor Lawrence next year in the draft. Because I'm telling you, Derrick Henry is not going to last with 400 carries like this. I've seen it too many times. He won't last, and you're making a mistake if you give him a big contract.
I think, Phil, I like where your head's at, because there is the question on whether or not a running back can sustain durability, especially when he's getting a lot of touches. LaDainian Tomlinson was able to do it. He got the ball a lot down there. Maurice Jones-Drew was able to do it for the Jaguars for a while. He eventually fell off. Chris Johnson, whenever he was with the Titans, was getting the ball a lot for a long time, and then he kind of fell off. This is something that does happen at the running back position. But Derrick Henry, I feel like he's just hitting his stride right now. Eddie George and he had that conversation. I think they're like week 5 or something like that. Or Eddie George said, hey, you need to be a little bit more physical. You need to do this. Derrick Henry said this. And he's become a completely different player in that. I think you can ride the heat wave of him for the next 2 years. And if he falls off after next year, let him go, figure it out. But I think you give him a monster contract for the next couple of years. Whatever Derrick Henry wants, I think you give it to him for the next couple of years. Now, granted, let's not get insane. For a running back for the next 2 years, I think you give him what you want, and I assume Ryan Tannehill is going to take a team-friendly deal. I think you get those two back. You already have a good offensive line. Now you got to deal with the other 26 free agents that you have, but I think those two are very key pieces.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, after being on the precipice of going to the Super Bowl, I think the last thing in their minds is like, all right, let's tank next year and get like, it's like, all right, we are in a nice little sweet spot here. Like, let's go for broke. Let's try to make another Super Bowl next year.
You think Tennessee Titans fans are scared of success? Do you think Tennessee Titans fans think now that the expectation levels are too high, they want to reset them? Let's just tank next year. We were in AFC Championship this last year. We came out of nowhere. Vrabel said on Bussin' with the Boys he was willing to cut off his penis to win another Super Bowl. Let's just tank next year so that we can relaunch to potentially get the AFC Championship game. That's not the Tennessee Titans fans I know. That's not the Titans fans that were booing me upon walking on the draft stage. That's not the Titans fans that just got a chance to experience happiness for the first time in a long time. You want them to tank down there in Chattanooga? Chattanooga, Tennessee wants them to tank? What are they doing down there?
They're hungry now. They got a little bit of success. Now they want it consistently. Now they want Trevor Lawrence, the next pony.
No, but the only way you get Trevor Lawrence is if you're literally the worst team in the league next year. So they want to go from AFC Championship game to worst team in the league. That is what a fan from the Tennessee Titans says. Come on.
You're also in a division that has the Colts and the Jaguars who don't really know what they're doing with their quarterback situation right now. Like that's
so true.
That's up in the air. Granted, Deshaun Watson's really good. He's going to be there for a while, but they have a window right now where they can actually like really go for broke.
28 free agents is a lot of free agents.
Yeah. I mean, I'm also not a fan of paying running backs, but if you get all this guaranteed money in the first 2 years, go.
Yeah, I think you just give them a 2
year. If you have
deal.
an out in year 3, go for it.
I think you give them like a 2-year, $30 million deal. Like, hey, listen, here's the deal. Here's 2 years, $30 million. Make it even. You can even make like 80% of that guarantee. Just be like, hey, we just need you for the next 2 years, and then let's renegotiate again. Like, I think if you keep that short deal ready to go, I think Derrick Henry is just hitting his stride. Because if you remember years before this year when Derrick Henry was in the NFL, they'd have a primetime game, and Derrick Henry would pop off for 200 yards, and then you would never hear anything about him again. The Titans wouldn't win, and then it would disappear. This year, he was doing what he was doing on some games. It felt like every single game, except for, obviously, the last one, where the Chiefs' defense just absolutely stuffed him. But I think you can still get great years out of Derrick Henry, even though history shows that some of those deals don't end up great. You can't just You can't just rely on other people's failures to determine whether or not other people will be successful.
He said the floor is Zeke's deal, and Zeke got $50 million guaranteed. So that's what he said.
How many years though?
Zeke, it doesn't say how many years here. I think it was like
four or five. I think.
Yeah.
I think it was 4 or 5. And I would assume that if I'm the Titans, I want to work a short one with them. Yeah. But will Derrick Henry want that? I don't know. $50 million guaranteed is a lot. That's a lot of guaranteed money, man. You know what Gruden said?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Now they're tossing out 60 for Tom Brady if they want. Oh, well. Hiring the right people is one of the best ways to help grow your business. Titans are going to have to do this, but shouldn't take time away from your priorities. With LinkedIn Jobs, it doesn't have to. LinkedIn Jobs screens candidates with the hard and soft skills you're looking for so you can hire the right person fast. I can't believe Phil wants them to be the worst team in the league after being in the AFC Championship. All those years of suck. You get to the AFC Championship, you're like, you know what? Let's be the worst team in the league next year. You think Mike Vrabel's going to go out there? He's planking, pushing up, doing push-ups, running the stairs before every game and just being like, all right, boys, we need to suck more than everybody else in this league this year.
One year removed from saying he'll cut his penis off to win a Super Bowl this year, he's just okay with going 1-15.
Disgusting.
LinkedIn Jobs screens candidates with the hard and soft skills. Chattanooga, Tennessee wants their team to be the worst team in the league.
I like Chattanooga, too.
Tell me one thing you know about Chattanooga, Tennessee.
There's 2 O's in the name.
That is interesting.
Chattanooga.
Can you mute his LinkedIn Job screens candidates with the hard and soft skills you're looking for so you can hire the right person fast. Things like collaboration, creativity, adaptability. LinkedIn looks beyond the work skills and puts your job post in front of qualified candidates who match your business requirements perfectly. That's how LinkedIn makes sure your job post is seen by the people you want to hire, people with the skills, qualifications, and other interests that will help your business grow. It's no wonder a person is hired every 8 seconds with LinkedIn. Wow. What if Phil gets fired from his job today for that call that he had with us?
CFO?
No, Chattanooga Phil.
Oh.
What if his boss, a big Titans fan, he's like, you know what, Phil? Heard you want us to completely suck. You're fired. That boss has a good brain because he wants Titans to be good next year. We'll go right to LinkedIn Jobs and replace Phil within 8 seconds. It'll be like this. And that's why companies have rated LinkedIn Jobs the #1 hiring platform for delivering quality hires. Good for LinkedIn Jobs. Awesome. Find the right person for your business today with LinkedIn Jobs. You can pay what you want and get the first $50 off. Just visit LinkedIn.com/Pat. Again, that's LinkedIn.com/Pat to get $50 off your first job post. Terms and conditions obviously apply. Don't be stupid. 11:23 on the East Coast, 8:23 on the West Coast. In the NFL is making $32 billion a year. This is the Pat McAfee Show.
At Simple Mobile, you get the no contract advantage. Unlimited talk, text, and data now for $30 a month. Now on a 5G-ready network with no activation fees and no contract ever. That's our best deal ever. Simple Mobile, out with the old, in with the simple.
Turn on this mic. Is this microphone on? Can you hear me? You?
I'm in a bad place right now.
You fucking made this
That
show?
was
What
real-
is this?
that
A
was real hard,
joke?
huh?
Why don't you get a potato out? Why don't you get a potato out and film yourself with a potato?
We good?
We good?
All right. Man, I'm not talking to you right now. Hold on a second.
The NHL All-Star Game and Skills Competition were just over the weekend. Did you get a chance to watch any of it?
120-157-201.
Start that over.
This is a real radio feel, doesn't it, this song? Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. 28 minutes after the hour, we just had a call from a guy from Chattanooga who's the biggest idiot I've ever heard. I've been tweeted by other Titans fans that said that guy should never be allowed to speak about the Titans ever again. Phil, I like your style. I like your Southern draw. I like that you listen to the show and call into the show, but everybody thinks you're dumb. Speaking of dumb, this show is that. We probably missed a lot of things. To keep us caught up on all the news that we need to know, here's Nick with the news.
So yesterday we talked about Browns offensive tackle Greg Robinson getting busted at the border with a lot of marijuana. No one knew exactly how much it was. Turns out it was 157 pounds of weed.
Yeah, I call that a Tuesday. I'm joking. That's a lot of marijuana. The thing that I'm very bummed about in this whole thing is the person that was with him, Quan Bray, like actual friend of mine, Like, I haven't talked to him. Obviously, in the NFL, whenever guys get cut or guys leave, you don't have conversations with them as much as you should. You keep up with each other on social media, but you can be having lunch with somebody who you consider a very good friend and not see him for the next 6 years because he gets cut after lunch. Like, that's just the way the NFL is. Quan Bray and I got very tight. He was a returner. I was actually the person on the team that would tell him where to line up after watching the other punter. I was like, me and Quan were actually good friends. Quan, incredible human being who has been through a lot in his life. I mean, if you would ever read his story, it is a very sad one. This is last night, whenever I read the police report, once Schefter tweeted out, by the way, Schefter just knows everything and gets everything. But once Schefter tweeted out that 157 pounds were found, I quote tweeted that and sent out, oh, that's all I said was, oh, like this is like Hurd, I believe his name was Alan
Hurd, yeah.
Alan Hurd. This is like real,
Sam.
This is Sam Hurd. This is like real weight. 157 pounds in duffel bags is straight out of a movie that you would never expect people who have good professions to be doing so. Sam Hurd walked out of a restaurant with a kilo of cocaine from an undercover, right? He was playing in the NFL whenever he did that. It was a mind-blowing thing. It's like, hey, you're in the NFL, you're making all this money. Why would you ever jeopardize it by doing this? Or at least have somebody else do this. This is the same question that's being asked here. And the fact that I have an actual friend involved in this now has turned it from an alarming story to a completely sad story for me. 157 pounds of marijuana in Texas, by the way, is a potential real life ender for a lot of people. I am going to try my best to reach out to old Quan, who's a friend of mine, and try to kind of figure out what's going on with this. But this is a very sad, sad story. I have no idea how it happened. I have no idea why it would happen, especially with states that have legalized marijuana. I don't know anything about the guy that was driving Mr. Robinson. I do know Quan Bray, and I was heartbroken late last night in the middle of my vitamin-induced thoughts. I was very, very sad for Quan Bray. 157 pounds. You're trying to do some real stuff with that. Like real stuff with that. And I don't know how, whenever you have $30 million made, which is what Greg Robinson has made, right? He's made $30 million. Like, get a drone. Like, why would you go classic drive through the border and think that I have so many questions. Why are you moving 157 pounds of marijuana whenever it's legalized in America? Just get somebody to go to Colorado and ship it to you. I mean, if you're going to be a drug dealer, let's at least do it in a smarter fashion. If you're a notable human being, like I am so bummed for Quan right now. Because he's a smart guy. Like, he's a smart guy who's obviously in a terrible... I'm bummed for Greg, bummed for Quan. But I don't understand how any of this adds up. I don't know how you think that this is a good decision. I don't know if maybe somebody was... I think there might be layers to this story.
I would assume so.
That there's somebody potentially forcing them or something along those lines. But, man, this is a sad story if you think about it from somebody who has a friend involved in it, which I just learned last night that I actually...
It's like a We're the Millers situation.
Yeah, exactly. By the way... This is me, okay? This is you. This is the prop. You're going to go behind there and do that. We're the Millers, but with people that have a lot of money in the bank account already. I just don't know how it comes in, but that was an alarming... 157 pounds was trending last night. 157 pounds was trending. Greg Robinson was trending. A lot of things were trending last night because of this, because of how alarming it is. I want to hear the entire story come out, and I'm very bummed for my friend.
It was brought to my attention earlier today that the Steelers beat the Browns again. Bam Morris was busted with 220 pounds of marijuana.
Bam.
Jeez. Any other news, please?
Yeah, SpaceX has a newly announced partnership with space exploration company Space Adventures. They're going to team up to send up to 4 private citizens into Earth's orbit by late 2021.
Elon Musk is offering up 4 round trips to space. That's very, very nice of him to do that. Teaming up with who?
Space Adventures.
Who's that?
I had no idea they existed.
We don't know.
Probably it's another person from the planet that Elon Musk is from. They created their own thing. Elon Musk on his last trip back to his home planet to find new technology that he can bring to planet Earth and make another billion off of. Found an old friend of his. They rekindled. Maybe it was like a high school reunion type thing. And he's like, yo, you should see what I'm doing down here on Earth. They're a bunch of idiots. Anything we do there. He's like, cool, I'll come down. I'll create a space thing. We'll team up. That's what this is, obviously. And I'm going to try to become one of those 4 people that go to space.
I heard the views
no
are
terms.
Don't do it.
No terms on the financial cost yet, but they did a similar deal last year with Bigelow Aerospace to send customers to the space station. That one was approximately $52 million a person.
Do you remember I got offered a $250,000 trip to space?
Yes, should have taken it.
I was emailed. And I guess that's what happens whenever you just get money and it's found out. You just get emails from these random scammers. I was asked if I wanted to pay $250,000 to go to space.
So what I don't
I
understand.
read it.
What I don't understand is that, like, on their website right there was saying take a walk in space. Like, do you not need to train at all to do this? Or are they just going to send anyone up and, like, tether them and be like, all right, go have fun out there?
We're going to send Zeke up there.
I think you do like a 10-minute pre-flight, like what's going on.
Space Seed.
Sure.
Space Seed is going to be our favorite, honestly. They probably put you on that plane with the zero gravity thing.
Well, it's kind of like when they quickly explain to you how the emergency doors work on a plane.
Well, and also whenever you skydive, you have to sit through a 5-minute video that just tells you you're going to die for 45 times. And it's like, okay, well, I don't want to hear this. I already paid, and I'm overweight. Good. But by the way, I sat on the exit row on my trip home from Chicago. So I flew from Honolulu to Chicago.
Very noble of you.
Chicago. Well, there was no first-class seats on it, by the way. So
well, you wanted to save lives.
Out of the entire exit row, they ask everybody, I would have had to open both. that person on the other side, are you willing and able? Lied to that flight. That person might have been willing. They were not able. And that should have been discussed a little bit more. Don't have in person and grabbing that thing and throwing it out of there quicker than you can imagine.
That's very noble of you.
So I feel good, Nick. That's how I feel. How do you feel?
I'm good. Your watch looks beautiful, by the way.
Oh, it's a movement watch. They sent it to the office. By the way, I'm not a big watch guy, but this is a big watch, so I'm going to be in. I'm going to be in it. Diggs and I both got gold watches. We feel very good about it. I believe Foxy got a watch. Did anybody else get a watch?
No.
Nope.
Well,
that's a shame. Thanks for bringing it up, Nick.
Shout out movement.
Shout out movement, though. Great sunglasses, great watches. What do you want to talk about?
I want to talk about the fight coming up, the boxing match.
Okay, who do you think's going to win?
Oh, come on now. Wilder has no chance.
Oh, the Gypsy King. Why do you think that? Why do you think that Tyson Fury is going to beat Deontay Wilder? Because I don't know much about boxing. I watched that news conference yesterday. I'll give my thoughts after yours, but I'm excited to hear why you think the Gypsy King will be able to knock out the hammer from Alabama, Deontay Wilder.
Well, Fury is more of a boxer. Wilder is more of trying to knock you out.
Interesting.
The knockouts are knockouts good?
That's how you win.
It's a great argument.
I believe that's how you win. I believe that's how you
It is interesting because Wilder is like one of the most accurate and powerful punchers, and Fury is the best defensive heavyweight of all time.
Let me tell you why I just bet a handsome amount on Deontay Wilder. Okay? And now, this all happened before I learned of how much money Deontay Wilder also has. But I do know that Tyson Fury made a very large amount of cash for one wrestling match in Saudi Arabia. And there was conversations being had. I don't know Tyson Fury. I have no idea who he is. But people that know Tyson Fury. There was a conversation that Tyson Fury was never going to box again because of how much money he made with the WWE, right? So anybody that's having contemplations on whether or not they want to continue to do something that involves getting punched in the face whenever you've had surgery and you've said that you've been bleeding 4 or 5 times during your training camp, automatically made me think like, oh, well, the other guy probably is fighting for a little bit more than this guy that was thinking about just taking massive paydays doing something else. So in my eyes, Deontay Wilder is going to win that boxing strictly because of that. Now, I watched that news conference yesterday. Deontay Wilder couldn't get about 4 or 5 seconds without getting a sentence out. Like, there was a lot of questions, but I think he's got a lot going on in his mind. He wants to fight him. Tyson Fury looked like he had a cut on his lip. He had sunglasses on. Did he have a black eye? He said he's been bleeding during his camp. He looked a little bit heavier. I think he always does. I know nothing about about boxing. I just like to think that I know a little bit about human psychology. In my eyes, Deontay Wilder thinks about that draw a lot more than Tyson Fury does, and I think Deontay Wilder gets a little comeuppance in this entire thing. But I could be wrong. I know nothing about boxing, but they got my attention yesterday when Joe Tessitore almost got swallowed between a 6'7" and a 6'9" guy on that stage yesterday.
I just hope everyone has a good time. But I do know that it's impressive when you've had 42 fights and 41 knockouts. I think that's an impressive number.
Yeah, that's boxing.
Which is huge in boxing because everyone knows that the judges are about as crooked as they get. So if you let it go to the scorecards, like, you have no idea who's going to win.
Yeah, I agree.
And Wilder, you got to think, even though it was a draw, he didn't knock him out, so it was more of a loss for him, more of a win for Fury because he got up after that haymaker.
Yeah, well, both of them were yelling at each other about who made who more money yesterday. And I learned that Deontay Wilder is worth a lot of money, too. So kind of immediately after placing my very, very large bet on Deontay Wilder yesterday on FanDuel, I learned that Deontay Wilder also a very wealthy man. And I was like, well, that kind of ruins the theory I got going. So right now I'm just trying to speak it into existence that the Hammer from Alabama is going to knock out the Gypsy King.
I don't think that's misguided, though, because he still is not worth nearly as much as Tyson Fury is.
Tyson Fury has like $100 million net worth or whatever.
Like 110.
And people have no idea how much he made in Saudi Arabia, right, with WWE. People have no clue how much that is.
So underreported.
We got to get to a break, and then we'll do some more phone calls. Not bad phone calls today. Got a guy fired in Chattanooga because he hates the Titans. He said he's a Titans fan. Got him fired. We had a guy who used a very politically incorrect and an insensitive word. Called himself a mailman.
Jeez.
What is this, 1999, Blake?
Almost got us kicked off the air.
Almost got us kicked off the air. $32 billion a year is the NFL's revenue. $32 billion a year.
Probably more.
Probably more. That's underreported.
I think you deserve a cut for that 17-game schedule thing.
I've been saying this the whole time.
Hey, take a percent.
I'll take a 0.5%.
Yeah.
Is that not enough to give you all of your ideas? I can give you more. By the way, the good thing about these ideas coming from this brain, people can steal them all the time. It does happen. There's more coming.
1/8%.
I'll take a 10th of a tenth of a tenth of a tenth. If you're listening to this show right now, I want you to take a second to look down at your crotch. When was the last time you shaved your junk, Ty?
I don't know. It's been a while.
Yeah, don't lie. It has been a while. Let's take a second to thank our sponsor, Manscaped, for holding you accountable to get rid of the funk and to shave your junk. This song is great for an ad. Guys, our confidence comes from our pride and joy, and when you trim the bushes, the tree stands taller. Manscaped is forever changing the grooming game with their Perfect Package 3.0. This is their brand new package that includes the best electric trimmer there is. This song is terrible. The Lawnmower 3.0. Unlike this song, best thing ever invented in the grooming world. This is a third-generation trimmer that features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to prevent manscaping accidents. Millions of testes are about to be nick-free thanks to Manscaped's advanced skin-safe technology. And, of course, let's not forget about the Crop Preserver, an anti-chafing ball deodorant and moisturizer. You already put deodorant on your armpits. Why are you not putting deodorant on the smelliest part of your body? Great question. The Perfect Package 3.0 also includes an anti-chafing performance boxer brief that keeps your package cool and smelling fresh all day. For on-the-go freshness, you'll love the Crop Reviver Ball Toner Spray. That is the perfect package for your perfect package. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code America at manscaped.com. Do yourself a favor and always use the right tools for the job. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code America at manscaped.com. 20% off, free shipping, manscaped.com using the code America. Your partner and your family jewels will thank you. Trim the shrubs. Looks like you got a redwood diner. Remember that. It's all about the optics. 43 minutes after the hour. Some phone calls on the other side. You're listening to the Pat McAfee Show. I have no clue why. Ladies and gentlemen, can you turn that music off? Can you stop that music? Ladies and gentlemen, yesterday, in the middle of our office, we were abruptly interrupted by massive
Raid Shadow Legends.
Zito started playing this game yesterday. He interrupted the entire office's flow and mojo, and he said we have to watch the highlights today. We will do that right now.
Let's go.
Graphics.
This is on your phone?
Oh, yeah.
Damn! Acid rain!
I'm a big acid rain guy.
Yeah, you should be.
Which one are you, Zeke?
I'm all for on the green right there.
Oh!
It's making people die.
Oh, so acid rain is your move.
Is that a face?
Oh, yeah.
Dead!
This is a one-on-one.
Bam! Dead! Let's go!
Making people die.
Dead! Sasquatch!
What are those things?
Yeah, this is
I mean,
Raid
let's
Shadow
go,
Legends.
Cito!
I'm going to tell you right now, maybe the greatest game I could play. You could play on PC and your phone.
Wow. I appreciate that. Available now.
Available right now.
What's it called?
Raid Shadow Legends, and you can join our clan. It's called the Pat McAfee Inc. Come join the squad. Let's take some people down!
I respect it. What's it called?
Raid Shadow Legends.
Zito was having a time of his life
Yeah, he was.
yesterday. You can too.
Get it when I get back. When I get back. When I get back. When I get back. Get it 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 when I get back.
Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show here, 49 minutes after the hour, about 5 minutes left. I believe Ty Schmidt is destroying a toilet. Let's go to Dylan in Indiana. What's up, Dylan?
How's it going, guys?
Not better
since
for
we're
us
allowed to
than
just
Tom.
give ourselves nicknames, I'd like to be known as the Trucker from now on, I guess.
See, that's a problem. My dad was a trucker for a long time. We had a call yesterday from Andrew, who's a trucker. I mean, I just don't know if people can just take these names.
I don't think you can say
Dylan.
I'm just making fun of the other guy. I don't really want to be known as a trucker.
Okay, Dylan, I respect
What's
that.
the number one rule on the road, Dylan?
Stay out of that friggin' left lane.
yeah.
And know your clearance.
There you go. That's what I was looking for.
You know your clearance always. And also, watch out for those lot lizards. You know what I mean? Those things have a lot of things you can potentially not get. Yeah, that's a little inside trucker talk. I feel like I might have
good.
gained a little
Pretty
respect
good.
among the bogeys up ahead. Dylan, what do you want to talk about?
I had a question about Tom Brady possibly staying at the Patriots. Do you think the Patriots could go out and make a move for someone like Stephon Diggs and bring in? Because
Great question, actually, by Dylan there. And that was raised on ESPN this morning, and I believe Fox, because Stephon Diggs, if you don't know, took everything off of his Instagram related to the Vikings. And whenever they were in the playoff game against the Saints on the road, by the way, playoffs is where stats don't matter at all. They were in the lead against the Saints on the road. Stephon Diggs hadn't got the ball yet. He takes his helmet off and throws it on the side. They're in the lead in the playoffs on the road, Stephon Diggs takes his helmet off and throws it. And I said that was a very interesting move. What are you really worried about if you're in the lead on the road in the playoffs? You haven't got the ball yet, and you're throwing your helmet on the sideline. Now, it might have been an equipment failure. That might have been maybe his helmet wasn't fitting right, like 18 weeks into the season. Maybe it was a different helmet. Maybe he got a haircut. Maybe something along those lines. But to me, it looked like he wasn't happy with the way the game was going, even though they were in the lead. Stats don't matter, and he hadn't had the ball yet. Vikings fans came after me. Whenever I said that, I was like, well, that was a very interesting move that he threw his helmet. I just didn't expect it. If I was on the team, I would have went up to him and been like, hey, what do we don't like the helmet? Like, we're about to win potentially on the road here against Saints. This is a big deal. And I was told that I was reading him wrong. I was judging him for the wrong reasons. I'm looking into things. Now here we are just, less than a month later, and he's deleting everything from the Vikings. He's not happy with the situation. Adam Thielen is tweeting Kirk Cousins every single morning, good morning. It seems as if there's a real situation with Diggs in the Vikings, and I don't think it just started when he took him off the Instagram. I think this started a long time ago when he got fined $250,000 week 3 or week 4 or week 2, whatever it was. Then it happened in a playoff game yet again. Now it's happening even more. The Vikings are going to try to get rid of Stephon Diggs. That is what's going to happen. I mean, Stephon will probably be happy. The Vikings will probably be happy. And if he ends up at the Patriots, that'll give Tom Brady another weapon up there. But he's making $15 million next year. So if you pay Tom Brady $30 million, which is what they're saying they're going to pay him, and you pay Stephon Diggs $15 million, you have $45 million in 2 players. You only have $50 million in cap space. What are you going to do? Just hope nobody gets hurt? You're not going to sign any of your drafted players? It's not possible. I don't think business-wise it's possible at this point. The Patriots just don't have enough cap space at the current moment to really bring Tom in and the weapons that Tom wants. That's why this is all so interesting. But let's assume that Stephon Diggs will find a new home. Odell Beckham also being on the market alongside Stephon Diggs. There's a chance, and Antonio Brown could potentially come back to the league, by the way, if he continues on this apology tour that he's on. There's a chance that Tom Brady could go somewhere and bring in a lot of weapons with him if the guys are willing to take pay cuts or deals or go to a place with a lot of salary cap. I'm not sure it's the Patriots, though.
No, they're dead.
What? Jeez. Excuse me? Excuse me?
Their only hope is the 7th seed, so.
Tony.
Let's go to Jackson and Denver before we get out of here. Denver, Colorado, looking for a house to rent out there for bachelorette party, by the way. So if you know anybody, please let me know. Sam's dealing with that right now, which in turn means I'm dealing with that right now as well. What do you want to talk about, Jackson, real quick?
Well, I wanted to talk about Foxy, and I know he did go 1 for 7, and maybe he cost some fans a little bit of money there, but he was the only one to recognize that the Denver Nuggets could upset the LA teams in the NBA, and they will play the Boston Celtics. Yes, the Boston Celtics. That's for you, Boston Connor. The NBA Finals this season.
Jack.
Stats for the NBA right now. Current odds to win. Bucks plus 240. Clippers plus 300. Lakers plus 300. Rockets, 76ers, and Jazz plus 1,800. Nuggets plus 2,500 alongside the Celtics. That'd be a great bet for you, Jackson, to make some money. Go ahead and do that. I'm banking on Giannis taking over the world with that chip on his shoulder from Greek. Can't thank you enough for listening and watching. I don't know where the hell you are or why you listened, but we can't thank you enough. What we learned today, letter carriers, $32 billion to the NFL, Tom Pelissero is a good conversation, and a guy named Phil in Chattanooga is a buffoon.
Yep.
Rob Manfred still sucks, so does the show. We have no idea why you listen. We'll be back tomorrow for a Feel Good Friday. I hope whatever's next is great. Have the best Thursday of your life. This has been the Pat McAfee Show. Thank you.
At Simple Mobile, you get the no contract advantage. Unlimited talk, text, and data now for $30 a month. Now on a 5G ready network with no activation fees ever. No confusion, no complexity, no frustration, and no contract. Ever, ever, ever. Now get unlimited talk, text, and data for $30 a month. And now 5G ready. It's our best deal ever. Buy yours now at nationwide retailers or at Simple Mobile dealers. Learn more at simplemobile.com. Simple Mobile, out with the old, in with the simple.
I've